Hi, I'm Jeff with Madeira USA, and today we're going to be embroidering a 3D puff design on a hat. So my tools I've got today, I've got my heat gun, scissors, tweezers, snips, 3D Puff Pro tool, my cap backing, foam, rubber bands, and my Richardson 112. So this is the Madeira Bodybuilder foam. I've got the 3-ounce cutaway tearaway cap backing. Don't hold me to that, but I've got our cap backing here. And I got it on the roll and I cut it into a strip. I like the 14-inch wide. 14-inch wide. I like to do that because it stabilizes the inside of the hat along the seam as well. And the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take out the cardboard piece. Can't tell you how many times I've accidentally embroidered through one of those, but I'm sure it won't be the last time in my life. I'm gonna take this hat over to our hooping station and we'll go ahead and hoop it. I'm gonna unhook the clamp on the cap. So this is a framing gauge. Let me take the hoop off of it. This is the framing gauge. This allows us to hoop the hats a lot easier. It's got 3 clips on it. When we put the hoop on, you want to make sure that it's latched in all 3 clips. And it's the same when you put it on the cap driver. You want to make sure that it's latched in all 3 clips. So I like to undo the back of the hat to about 2 snaps. And then I turn the sweatband inside out. And I'll pull it all the way out, all the way around, like so. And get it clear. And then I use a long strip of cap backing because this stabilizes more than just the front area. It's going to stabilize the sides and around the hoop. So now that I've got that, I've got my cap, my sweatband folded out. I'm going to scoop under the 2 prongs on the back. I will bring it up. I set my cap backing down, and then this goes under. The sweatband goes under this little tab right here. And the bill goes up right up against it. And this is called the bill stop. So we stop the bill against it. Sometimes these have to be bent up a little bit or down depending on when it comes. Now you can see that little red line and how I just move the hat to the left of it. I go about to that stitch seam right there to the left. When I clamp this down, the force of the clamp is going to pull it to the right and get it a lot close to center. When people do this commercially, speed is of the essence, and hooping on a multi-head, you hoop all of the hats. So consistency is key in getting the seam in the same spot on every hat, and doing it the same, me lining up with this seam to this little red line up here, every time it makes my hat hooping within 0.5 millimeter every time I go, so I don't have to adjust the hats or the design on the machine as I'm moving forward. Now that we've got this pinned here, I like to pull, and I usually do this with my left hand. I make sure that the paper is around all the clips, and I pull down, straight down and forward. And that puts tension on the hat across the front. Let me look there and just make sure that everything is good. So now that this is tensioned, my hand comes over the top to the left and I start pulling this over, okay? And what I'm looking at on the side here is I'm making sure that the teeth grab in this seam and along the sweatband on that side, as well as it goes all the way seated in the seam. The teeth go in the seam on the center. And then I do the same thing on this side. I pull it and I make sure that I am lined up in the sweatband, and that clip right there goes on the outside edge. Then this piece goes down to the clip and I pull it tight. This comes up, goes under and holds it down. So that's how I hoop the hat based off of the seam. Now it's ready, I can take it off and I can go put it on the machine. So now that I've got the hat hooped, I'm gonna go ahead and point out a couple of things here just to explain them a little bit. So I'm not using the clips on the back. If I was embroidering on the side here, I would, but because it's a structured hat, I'm not going to use them. The sweatband is underneath the teeth right here along this side. The teeth are firmly seated all the way across in that front groove on the hat. And again, the teeth are in the side right here. Now, if I was embroidering on the side, I would pull this strip flat here, flatten this all out, and clip it. But in doing this, if you don't hoop the sides of the sweatband in, when you put it on the machine, your hat actually sits just up a little bit. And so you get a little bit more of a bubble here, you get a little bit more flagging. And when you're embroidering this, flagging is kind of the devil. That's where your needle breaks come in. So hooping on the sides is going to help bring the crown down just a little bit and overall smoothen this out. Next thing I'm going to point out is that the teeth are firmly seated in this seam. That's really important that they are in the seam, not above it, under it. That affects your sewing distance up and down. Now, the other reason why having the sweatband here is important, if I was going to do a design on the side, it helps hold this fabric here, and I'm not going to have to rotate the design to get it to line up with the sweatband. It's just going to line up on the side. Now, I'm going to take this over, we're going to put it on the machine, we'll go ahead and run the design, the machine will stop, we'll put on the foam, and we'll go from there. Now that I'm over here on the machine, to put the cap on, I'm going to rotate it to the side and slide it on. I'm going to rotate it vertical. And now I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to clip it closed, and I'm going to make sure that these three, there's a clip here, and a clip on the bottom, that all those clips are fully seated. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the presser foot there, and I'm going to line up my design with the seam like so, and I'm going to run a trace. It's going to go to the top of the design and then to the bottom of the design, and I'm going to stop it right here. Now I'm going to push down where the presser foot's actually going to hit, and I'm going to feel the bottom ring of this cap hoop sits right there. I can feel it with my thumb. And so what I'm doing when I set this presser foot down and I'm determining how low I can go to the brim is I'm checking to feel where exactly that is, and then I'm moving the design just a little bit closer to it. And when I feel comfortable and confident that I'm not going to hit that, because that will definitely break a reciprocator, I'll finish my trace. I will trace it one more time because I'm going to check and double check that when I get here, I can feel, and I can tell you I'm definitely not going to hit that with my presser foot or my needle, because that, again, will break. Now, the design already has a stop in it, so the next thing to do is just run the design until the machine stops and prompts for foam. So I'm going to take my foam piece here, I'm going to lay it across the front of the hat, and then I like to have my two rubber bands. I'm going to put one around the bottom here. It's going to kind of go near that bottom band, and around the outside to hold it, and then another one right up near the top. And I don't want to go too high that I'm going to run it into the design. So that should be okay there on both the top and the bottom. That's just going to kind of give it some support while the machine sews. Now it's ready to do the puff. Now that it's finished, I'm going to go ahead and clear this off. You can take the hat off the machine. I'm going to depress the 3 levers, rotate the bill to the side, and pull it off. Now that I've got the hat off the machine, I'm going to go ahead and check. I've got a little long thread here. Go ahead and clip that, bring that down. I can take off my 2 rubber bands. There we go, so I don't lose those. And I'll go ahead and bring this over here as I peel back the foam. This is probably my favorite part of doing 3D puff designs, is taking off the foam and actually looking at the design after. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to look at it and I'm going to determine if there's any places that I need to use the 3D Puff Pro tool. And there are a couple. There's one right here and one right here. Now, the nice part about this tool is it's got a kind of spatula on one end and a non-blunt point on the other. And you can use that to kind of work any places that the foam stick out. You can work it back to go in. Let me pull this over in front of this camera here. You can see on this corner, I've got a little bit of foam poking out. Just poke that down a little bit in there. You can use the other end like that. Get that clean, pushed in there, covered. Check any other areas that I might need to press it in. Or if I need to, I can use the tweezers to pull it off if it's large enough. If it's not that large, I'm just going to kind of tuck it down in. And the higher density that you use to cut the foam will actually spread out the stitches across the top. Once I'm happy with the 3D Puff Pro tool, I'll come over and I'll use my heat gun. It's a Wagner. Turn it on. I usually set it to 650 degrees. It's got a digital gauge on it. And now I'm just going to work this over the top of the design. And it's going to take any areas that there might be little foam fuzzies or anything poking out and shrink it back in just a little bit. Now, some people like to use the heat gun on the inside as well to kind of shrink up some of the tails. And I'm just going to do that here. I don't typically do that on my embroidery when I run it, but I'll do that to show you. And then again, running it over. I don't want to stay in any one position too long because you can melt the hat and the thread. So I just pass that over the top. Once I'm happy, I can just turn this off. There we go. I can undo the bill holder, remove the clip like that, take my hat off, bring that back around, clip that. I'm going to just kind of bend the hat brim a little bit, take out the backing, fold the sweatband back in. I like to close it back up to about 5 snaps on the back there. And then I do also like to just push a little bit on the back side around the design. So if there's any indentation left by the machine, just a little bit of pressure on the back and on the front can take that out of the hat completely. And then you get a nice 3D puff flat foam design. And that looks really good right there. So I'll go ahead and fold that in and we'll bring it in this camera here so you can take a look at that. hopefully that video helps you guys out. If you do have any questions, drop them down in the comments. I'm Jeff with Madeira USA, and we'll catch you in the next video.